Chafing sucks. And I'm going to tell you how to take care of that. KT here, Everyday KT, number 209. And today we're talking about that evil that all of us kilt wearers deal with or have dealt with, and that's called chafing. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you are one lucky SOB. So for those of you who don't know, just so you can get an idea, chafing is when, those of us wearing kilts, or actually whatever else, go someplace and, your thighs go like this, and if you go like this long enough, your hands start warming up, right? Now keep going, and keep going, and keep going. Now imagine doing this all day long. Bagpipers, sucks. Anybody who's been in a parade, sucks. Highland athletes, sucks. Chafing is the devil. And there's a couple ways you can deal with it. Now one, obviously, don't go anywhere. Throw on a kilt, sit on your ass at home. Don't do anything. Okay, that kind of sucks. There's no fun there. There's nothing to do. No cool, anything like that. Undergarments. That's fine and all, but guess what? It doesn't actually solve the problem. That survival trip I went on a couple of weeks, actually I guess now it's a month and a half ago now. Guess what? Chafing. Because you get hot, get sweaty, and it sucks. And you just start chafing, and you wind up doing this again. Only it really sucks because it's sweaty and it's gross and it's nasty and it just hurts and it feels like shit. So, how do you deal with that? So, the easiest, fastest, most effective, well, not most effective, but the easiest, fastest, and most readily available method I've ever found is this stuff. Gold Bond. I know it's backwards in the picture, but guess what? You know what I'm talking about. Gold Bond. This stuff is awesome. I've heard a lot of different names for this stuff, most of which I choose not to repeat because they're well past what we normally talk about here. But a little bit of that rubbed in the right areas, which seem to be affected, and you're okay. It'll last for a few hours. The good thing is this stuff is A, light, B, dirt cheap. So you can reapply as needed, provided you have, some place to do it. Because if you're out in the middle of a crowded field, depending on, unless you're at Woodstock, reach it up under your own kilt with this, with pretty much anything, and might get some funny looks. And your hands wind up fairly coated with white powder. Just for those of you who have never done it, just spraying it, if you have undergarments on, spraying it into your undergarment, not going to cut it. You actually have to apply it to the affected region. So that's the intro basic. This is what works. Now, if you are a piper, someone who wears a kilt on a regular basis, or, well, that's it, pretty much. You wear a kilt all the time, and you hate chafing. There's another thing. I haven't checked lately, but this stuff was called Body Glide. It's what it looks like. And this is found in most running stores. It's great because it is really effective. Downside, it's made similar to an antiperspirant. Not a deodorant, an antiperspirant. So it's that white, chunky stuff. Now let me see. See, this is what it looks like. Now, for those of you who have used antiperspirants of this style, you know very well that if you put in a light layer, it'll work great. If you don't, you wind up with clumpy, blah, 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 blah. It just winds up really gross. So, again, with that one, especially if you are anticipating frivolity later in the evening, I would use it very, very sparingly, if at all. It is not messy when it's not greasy or it's not like weird, but if you put too much on over the span of a few hours, it does kind of tend to clump a little bit, and that gets really weird if you were having company, as it were. So that is, again, it's called Body Glide. This stuff I've used many, many times. It works very, very well with or without undergarments. The other thing that I've used, it is something I don't have any, and I don't. I think the company was bought by a larger one, but it was by a company called Teutons, and it was a dimethicone roll-on. So dimethicone, it felt like sheet, like a satin sheet or silk sheet. It was so smooth, and it was in a roll-on. Again, what does it have to do with kilts, Dave? I'll tell you. This is, well, if you must have come in late. These are chafing prevention items. These things right here will help protect you from chafing if you suffer from chafing. And a lot of the folks I know who wear kilts suffer from chafing. I'm trying to help them out a little bit. So that's why we're talking about this stuff, David. Because, you know, every once in a while I like to throw in something actually helpful related to kilts. So this Dimethicone Creme, it was called by a company called Two Toms. It was a roll-on, a liquid, and it went on, dried very quickly, and it was amazing stuff. But I believe the company got bought. I don't know where it went to. I actually had the idea to do this video as I was walking out here. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. So, let me finish. I'll talk about this dimethicone, and then we'll talk about how the effects of the kilt with all this stuff. Good point, Dave. I hadn't thought about that. So, Dave asked if they make the kilt a mess. So, we'll talk about that in a second. So, Dimethicone Creme, it's a roll-on. It was clear. It goes on very, very nicely. You don't have to worry about how much you put on unless you go crazy and just waste it. No mess later. No problems of any kind that I could come up with, except for I had to order it because you couldn't get it at any of the sports stores. Now, most of the places that I find that carry the best things for anti-chafing are running stores. Places that cater specifically to athletes who run long distances because they have the same problems. So if you know, there's a place down in Oklahoma, in Tulsa, it's called Runner's World. They carried all this stuff. A lot of the larger sports dedicated stores carry this stuff. Most of the big box generic stores don't, so probably not a good idea to go there. But the sports stores, go there and they probably have some kind of anti-chafing things. But like I said, if you're out of luck and you don't have anything, Gold Bond, right there. Now, to answer Dave's question, okay, so those are the three types of things I know about that I've used personally. There may be others. I'd love to hear about it from you. Especially the pipers, because I'm sure that they use something. Now, how does this stuff handle, how does the kilt deal with these things? So, we'll start with the Gold Bond. This stuff, it's white powder. Well, white powder leaves white powder. It doesn't damage the kilt in any way, in any of them that I've seen. But, you know, if you have a hand, you know, you apply the Gold Bond, and you go like this, you're going to have a white powdery handprint. It does come off very easily. Brush it away. No problem. I haven't had any issues with Gold Bond causing issues with any kilt I've ever worn. This stuff, on the other hand, Body Glide, because it is in this form, it doesn't damage the kilt, but if it gets on the kilt, it's a big clump of white, weird stuff. So that's why I say if you're going to go with that method, use it sparingly. Otherwise, you'll wind up having to clean the inside of your kilt a heck of a lot more often than you'd like to get that stuff out of it. Again, I've not had any experience with it damaging the kilts. None of my kilts have holes in it or any kind of issues because of that stuff. So it just feels weird and it looks weird. The Dimethicone Creme, or the Dimethicone roll-on that I used from Two Toms, never had a problem of any kind. None of the kilts had any negative impact, no discoloring that I'm aware of, and it just seemed to work. It was just hard to get because you had to go order it online. So those are the three biggest things that I would suggest if you suffer from chafing. Undergarments or not, doesn't really matter. I've had chafing with both situations. Like I said, you just start going like this, and just imagine going like this for a long, long time. It's not comfortable. So, recap. Easiest thing to do to prevent chafing? Boom, Gold Bond. Be careful. They have different styles of Gold Bond. I found that out the hard way because the more active, strong, or whatever it seems to be, the more tingly it gets. And depending on how bad your chafing is, that could be painful. So Gold Bond, you can get that anywhere. Body Glide, it is an anti-chafing stick. Looks like an antiperspirant. I'll have to Google where to get it, but I believe you can get it at most runner supply stores that deal with people. They're the kind of places that put on 5Ks, or they have all kinds of custom shoes or special shoes and things like that. So the third one, it was by a company called Two Toms. It was a dimethicone roll-on. I don't know if they're still in business, but I know that there are companies that still make it. So that would be my preferred anti-chafing prevention tool, but I heard some noises, so I don't know. So anti-chafing, chafing sucks. Avoid it at all costs. I can hear some shenanigans going on, so I'm going to have to cut this one short. But anyway, those are the three things: Gold Bond, Body Glide, Dimethicone Creme from Two Toms. And with that, I'll let you go. It's Friday night. Go have some fun, have some shenanigans, do something cool, and be strong. Put a kilt on.